My gorgeous soul, welcome back to the Love, Sex and Magic podcast. Oh, I'm so excited for today's guest. Oh, this goddess is someone who I have known for several years and who I have witnessed just been on the most transformational journey of abundance and spiritual healing and plant medicine and business acceleration. And she truly is someone who is so inspiring to watch and to learn from. So our guest today is Regan Hillyer. She is the founder of Regan Hillyer International, a company dedicated to providing personal development and business training to men and women who have a big message they want to share with the world. She has trained thousands of people, helping them build multiple 6- and 7-figure businesses, location-free, using powerful mindset-changing tools and cutting-edge business development strategies. So in this conversation, we talked all about the journey from being the hustle, never stop entrepreneur into really tapping into that divine feminine and integrated masculine abundance and wisdom and that beautiful dance between the two. We talk about plant medicine and ayahuasca when it comes to accelerated success. We talk about abundance, how to tap into the natural flow of the abundance of the universe and how it is our most natural state. And oh my goodness, so much more. I think you guys are going to absolutely love this episode. We dive deep into the frequency of money and abundance, and I think you're going to love it. So let's do the damn thing. So Regan, welcome to the podcast. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited for this conversation.
Me too. Where do we even begin? So we recently reconnected after many years. We had dinner here together at our last villa that we were staying at in Costa Rica with Wampa and with Rick, and we just got to connect deeper, which was just so beautiful. It's been so amazing to witness your journey over the last 5 years and just how much you have deepened into who you are and your purpose here on this planet. And let's just take it back, because we first met out in Bali maybe 5 years ago now on like a little business mastermind retreat type thing with Kat Laterzo, Jen Scalia. And it was a very different vibe, wasn't it, than kind of where both of us are at today. It was very kind of like about the hustle and about the success. And what I remember from that time was it was like achieve your goals at any cost. And I was already so impressed with the Regan that I met then. And the Regan that I know now is just like, wow. And I think that the main reason for that for me personally is the impact that you're making is phenomenal. And, you know, there are a lot of entrepreneurs that are making lots of money, millions of dollars, but the way that you are circulating that income, the way that you I will message you or I will check out your stories, and it's like you're building a school in Africa, you're giving away these scholarships to these young entrepreneurs. Like I'll send you a WhatsApp and be like, hey, what are you doing this week? And you're like, I'm building a school in Costa Rica. And I'm like, this is insane. Like I would definitely say you are such an expander for me. So yeah, let's talk about your journey. Like, you know, what was your upbringing like? I want to go back and start with like little baby Regan. What was her upbringing like? Did she know anything about money, anything about entrepreneurship, anything about what was possible for her life?
Yeah, absolutely. And I remember that event in Bali so clearly. And you know, when you go into deep healing work, and it might be through breath work or through ceremony, and you access a past life and you're like, wow, that was me in a past life, and you know it's you. But then you look at your life now and you're like, whoa, it's totally different. I feel like Bali was our past life. Like I literally and I'm like, oh,
Totally.
that was a totally different reality. And I love that life, and it was amazing. And it was such a stepping stone, I feel, for both of us in terms of what we've opened up to and expanded into. But it feels like a totally different reality. So yeah, if I take you back even further from there, I mean, I grew up in New Zealand with a family that loved me and still loves me very dearly, but they were very in the system. You know, my dad ran his own business. It was a small business, no more than 2 employees ever. And, you know, it was very much a model of work hard and do more and like push, push, push. And, you know, you can get somewhere one day, basically. And so my mom was very much in the system in terms of education and schooling and wanted me to go to school and get good grades and follow down that pathway. And my dad always said to me that if he had my opportunities, he would have been an architect. You know, he was pulled out of school at the age of 13, 14 and sent to work, basically. And so I was going through school, finished school, and then what do you think I studied at university? I studied architecture, really, because I had no idea what I wanted to do. And deep down, I was trying to unconsciously please my parents and especially my father. And so, you know, I was in a university lecture at one point, and a new lecturer walked in and he got us to do this visualization process. And I had never done any meditation, visualization, affirmation, nothing, right? This was my first experience. So I thought, okay. And I closed my eyes and he got us to picture our future as, I quote, the architect that we were born to be 20 years out from that moment. And so I closed my eyes and I started seeing this scenario of this life, which I was on a pathway to creating. And honestly, Mel, I felt sick to my stomach. And I realized at that moment I was on a pathway creating a life that I wasn't madly in love with. And I knew deep down at a soul level, I wasn't here to do that. And so I had this moment where like my mind disconnected from my body and my body just like got up and ran out of the room. And I called my dad and I told him, I'm like, Dad, I was crying. And I said to him, you know, I feel like I'm letting you down so much, but I'm not meant to be an architect. This is not what I'm meant to do in the world. And to my surprise, he turned around and he's like, well, baby, I want you to be happy. So he's like, I support your decision. And he said to me, he said, Regan, what are you going to do? And I was like, just give me a minute on that. I was so clear on what I didn't want, but I had absolutely no clue what my future would or could look like. And so that threw me into personal development. I started Googling, how do you quit your 9-to-5 job? Because I was terrified I was going to end up in one. And I started reading books. I started going to personal development events. And that's what really threw me into this industry today. It didn't start out with a grand vision of, oh my goodness, I'm going to make millions of dollars and change millions of people's lives. It was like, how do I sort my life out and do something that I love and not do this other thing that I was quite good at but don't love at all? And how do I figure this out and actually be happy at the end of the day? You know, those were the questions that my whole journey started with. So that was really the entry point for me.
I love that. And would you say that you got your work ethic from your mum and dad then? Because when I met you, I think we were probably around the same age. Maybe are you younger than me? I feel like you're maybe a little younger than me. I'm about to turn 31.
Yeah, I'm 31, I think.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. Because I remember when we met, however many years ago it was in Bali, and I remember being like, oh my God, she's my age and she's achieved so much. So that kind of work ethic, that kind of like mentality, was that something that you inherited from your parents, or was that like something that came from a different place for you?
Yeah, you know, I think a lot of this was from my parents and especially from my dad. And honestly, it was a blessing and it was a curse. And it was a blessing because it did set me up. And I worked really hard. And for years and years and years, I was the entrepreneur that would sleep 2-3 hours a night and do everything myself and go for it. And then proudly tell everyone what I'd achieved. And guess what? I did it all myself. And, you know, it blocked, obviously, my lifestyle, my freedom, my leverage, my income. When I then had to go, I went under the surface and realized like, whoa, I'm so anchored into this paradigm of, in order to manifest more or achieve more or make more money or have more freedom, anything, then I must do more. And I had to go in and unhook from that and be like, thank you, Dad. And no, I'm choosing to rewrite this generational story that has been back in especially his family for years and years and years, and rewrite this. And instead, you know, that's what opened me up to words like surrender and manifestation and things like that, which I really had no context or even access points to in the beginning. It was just like, go. It's where we were at, Mel, when we connected. It was like hustle, We'll push, push, push. Okay, well, if it's, what did my dad always say? If it's meant to be, then it's up to me. I had that running in my conscious and my unconscious. And it wasn't until that I started massively unhooking that and rewiring that I realized that had served me and gotten me to that point, but it was one of the biggest limitations at the same time.
Yeah, gosh, totally. It's such a good example of like going in like this unhealthy masculine way. That's kind of it's really all we were shown. It was like, be successful. This is how you do it. Do more, have sleepless nights, have all this coffee, while you're sleeping, other people are succeeding. It was this kind of like, no shade to Gary V. Love you, Gary. But it was like a Gary V kind of like, go, right? And, it's so beautiful now to have witnessed you really just heal your inner masculine, obviously your relationship with your father and like seeking this approval, and also at the same time be able to reclaim the feminine and step into that divine feminine, that softness which you hold so well, at the same time as still achieving and actually making more impact by taking better care of yourself, not burning yourself out, because your body really is your ally and such a great, companion on this journey. If we're like burning our body out to make more money, it's really going against us.
Yeah, no, it totally is. And, I see some people go through and, they realize at some point that this unhealthy masculine, just like push, push, push and do more, it's not serving them and it's actually doing more damage. And then I see a lot of people kind of do a polarity swing and they go, okay, I don't want to do that. I'm going to swing here. And they actually weirdly swing into unhealthy feminine, where they kind of just let everything go and they're like, oh, it's all just going to happen through me. It doesn't matter. I'll just like do nothing. I refuse to work hard. And so what's interesting is I feel there's this beautiful balance within you that you get to cultivate. And I've done a lot of work intentionally on this, of looking at how do I activate healthy masculine and healthy feminine. And that's really the inner divine union that activates within you. And then you're in this place where you're embodying the healthy masculine intention and the clarity and the goal drivenness of, okay, I'm clear and I'm going here. But then you're opening up in the feminine energy and you're surrendering and you're allowing God or the universe to actually manifest through you. And then once that's there, you anchor that through your feminine energy and then step again into the masculine, but from an empowered place of the action that you take in your business and your life. So it's this beautiful fusion, because then you keep taking the action and then you open up to the next layer of the vision.
Yes.
And you leave that and then you anchor that, then you move again. So it's this beautiful dance, which I get we all get to practice and we all get to upgrade and be even better at calibrating the upgrades around these two energies. It's not a one or the other. And this is why, even though I'm not in alignment with the old masculine energy of like push, push, hustle, hustle, you'll never see me out there on the internet being like, hustle's bad and wrong, because you actually do require a healthy part of it. But then there's also the healthy flip to it, which gets to be integrated, So I do feel like it's such a dance, which of course then is mirrored in relationships. It's mirrored with money, with the pulsation in and out. It's mirrored in every area of your life, because it starts within you.
So beautiful. Such a good reminder. This is something that I'm always referring back to in the clients that I work with on business and in my mastermind. It's like, it's about integration. It's the feminine and it's the masculine. It's not about swinging one way or the other. But when you start out, you think that it's just this one way. And I think just like everything, if you've swung so far one way, you end up swinging the whole way, all the way back. Just like if you like diet, then you're going to swing into like binging eventually, right? So, but it's this coming together, it's this weaving, this beautiful dance that you spoke on, which is, for me, has been like the magic sauce, the secret sauce, having that balance and being able to heal on the masculine side, on the feminine side, and really bringing both. And for me, that's when things just open up. The things just start to flow, things start to just come into alignment so much easier. But it's when, like you said, it's when you're taking the action and then allowing the space for magic.
Yeah, and it's the difference between what I call manufactured manifestation and then surrendered manifestation. So
Mm.
99.9% of the world operate in manufactured manifestation, where they've got a dream or a goal or a vision, and they go then, okay, now what do I need to do to make it happen? AKA under the surface, if I don't make it happen, it's not going to happen. So they're operating from actually an unconscious place of fear and control, from that fear of trying to control every little step of every little manifestation which is coming through. And when they're in that rigidness, locked in the manufactured manifestation, they miss the magic. They miss the synchronicity. They miss the person showing up going, hey, you could do it this way. They miss the opportunity. They miss the money trying to come into their life, because they're stuck in this control system that they've really locked themselves into. So when we go the other way, and we look at surrendered manifestation, and everyone listening can do this, instead of asking yourself, what do I need to do to make it happen? What if you were to say, well, I trust that it's already happened. I know that somewhere out there in the future, it's a done deal, because it's my vision, it's my heartbeat, it's alive in me, I can feel it, it's a soul desire. And if that's true, then it's somewhere across time and space, it's already manifested. So if you connect with that, and instead ask yourself, okay, well, it's a done deal. I know with certainty that it's happened. How do I get to show up in order to accelerate the manifestation process? What do I get to do in order to simply have it show up faster? So instead of in 10 years, it shows up in 2. Instead of in 2 years, it shows up in 3 months, right? And this is where the conversation of quantum leaping and accelerating your results across your life. But it's got to be from this place where you're not carrying the weight of the manifestation on your shoulders, underlying with a fear vibration and operating from a place of control. It's just not going to work.
I love that so much. I want to dive in deeper to that for anyone that's like, how on earth, where do I even start with this? Like, how do you explain the quantum field of infinite possibilities to someone who has kind of done that kind of on the surface manifestation, hitting my goals, going up, but then wants to take it deeper, wants to understand, how do I accelerate things? How do I quantum leap?
Absolutely. Yeah, the quantum field is so beautiful, and this is a very big question. So I'm tuning into to the best way to give the most relevant information here. But long story short, we all have a field around us. Within that field is simply information. And if we look at the structure of reality and we look at the unfolding of the universe, we see that everything ultimately is made up of light and sound. And when we go into those light and sound waves, we see that everything's made up of frequency. And when we go even deeper into that structure, we see that everything is made up of geometries at the end of the day. Now, when we understand that, we're actually, through the process of manifestation, using different tools and methods. I know many that Mel's working with you guys on. It could be breath, it could be sound, it could be power of intention, it could be prayer, whatever we're using as a tool. What's actually happening on the scientific level is that we're altering these geometries, and we're not making them something when they're not. We're actually returning them back to their natural state. Because your natural state is abundance. Your natural state is wholeness. Your natural state is living in flow. Your natural state is always being in your heart. What has happened over time is that with society, there's so many imprints and infiltrations and belief structures and mental programs and all these things which stack us up, which alter the geometries and invert them and shift them and change them just slightly, which means that when you're trying to manifest, if your field is slightly off, it's just harder. It's harder work. Things show up not as rapidly, So when you go in, you start utilizing some of the tools that are available, even journaling, you sit down, and when you get into a state of really feeling that something is happening when you're journaling, you're altering the field around you. And so it's that simple, knowing that when you're doing that, you're shifting the geometries, you're shifting the cellular structure, and literally allowing the reality of the universe to come back to its natural state. And the most beautiful thing is that when you do this, even if it's for your own life and your own personal intention, you're working on the field, the universal field, which all of humanity is linked into. So this is beyond you. You're actually doing service work in my eyes when you are bold enough and brave enough to stand up and say, hey, I declare that this is my vision. Now let me use my tools to shift my field into coherence in order to make that happen. You're actually doing this for humanity, because you're making it easier for the next person to shift and the next person to shift. And then the more people we get doing this work, the faster it shifts and the more things manifest. So that's the high-level overview.
So magical. I have like goosebumps and like just tingles all over just listening to you share that, because you're so right. Like, and I've been there, like in my journaling practice, in my meditation, where I literally feel things shifting. I feel things changing as I'm doing this work. So it's powerful, and yet it's simple. And I love that you said that it's like abundance is our natural state. All of the blocks and the fears and the worries and the resistance that we have is actually unnatural. That's not what the universe wants for us.
Right. Exactly. And it's infiltration and it's implants and it's beyond humanity. You know, if we actually trace this back, and I don't know how galactic you want to go in this conversation, but effectively forces that are not human, that actually chose at one point to be separate from God and walk a path of self-service instead of a path of service to the divine, those beings came in an attempt to control humanity and actually started laying some of these grids and some of these pieces of infrastructure and lower light technologies that as humans we've been so hooked into. And this is such an exciting time right now because people are realizing this, whether they know the full backstory or not. They're realizing that they're sovereign. They're realizing that they have a choice. They realize they have the power to go, actually, I don't subscribe to that. And I don't like that. And no, I won't put that in my body. And no, I'm not going to have a conversation about that. And no, I'm not going to be scared about that either. They're taking their power back piece by piece. And every time someone does this in their physical life, they unhook from this. And these grids and these infiltrations get weaker and weaker. And why do they try and have us in the first place and try and feed off us? Because they chose to be separate from God. They're no longer self-sufficient. They require a food source. And sadly, for so many years, that was humanity, right? And now we're in this place where we're standing up and those forces, again, they're evaporating away extremely quickly because more and more people are working on their own consciousness and claiming back their own sovereign nature.
Oh, yes, I really feel as though sovereignty is going to be a huge theme for 2021 and reclaiming our true power. And I definitely agree. I feel as though in 2020, throughout 2020, obviously there was a lot of fear, a lot of anxiety, and a lot of people that were really going through some tough times. And there was a lot of people waking up, a lot of people having huge healing and huge awakening and huge realizing and remembering their true divinity and their true power. So it had a lot of magic in as well as a lot of pain.
Yeah, it was 2020, right? It was the year of 2020 vision. Everything got shifted. And almost like wherever you were at on the scale of consciousness in 2020, everything just went and shifted into this whole new frequency band. And so people that were already deep in this work just got, at a deeper level and things started accelerating so quickly. But people who weren't in this work at all of a sudden went and started to ask some questions. I saw this in my own parents. My parents are so sweet and so beautiful and so in their heart and living their best life ever in their own way, Yet a lot of the things which I'm out there doing in the world, they'll be like, okay, you went to the jungle and did what? Oh, okay, I'm glad you're safe. There's been a lack of connection there because it's just so far out of their reality. And what's interesting is that if 2020 and all the global events had happened 10 years ago, my parents would have probably been like, well, we need to listen to the government and do this thing. All of a sudden last year, they started asking questions. They started saying, Regan, have you seen this? Because that doesn't make sense because then there's this over here. And I don't really understand why they would be closing our border and doing this when this is
yeah.
And there's questions being asked, even though there's not maybe grounded answers and super clear, directions, there's questioning. And I noticed that shift. I've got goosebumps talking about it because I saw this in so many people. It's just like the consciousness just slid on the scale and upgraded. And it's so beautiful. And this is also such a reason for anyone out there who's walking their purpose right now, anyone out there who's activating their gifts, anyone out there who's doing deep work and may not know all the answers as to why they're here, but you're here to help in some way and you're here to be of service. The world really needs you now because more than ever, these people that have slid on this consciousness scale, I promise you, and now in the next year, in the next 2 to 5 years, they're going to be looking for answers. They're going to be Googling, not just how do I quit my job, but what does this really mean? What is this reality? And how do I get some answers? And I'm experiencing and seeing so much. Am I going crazy? How do I deal with this? More and more and more people are going to require support from people like us and all of you tuning in. So this is the mission slip, if you needed it, to go deeper into asking yourself what your purpose is and saying yes to going into deeper levels of your gifts and your service because we really, really, really need you right now.
Oh, so beautiful. I love this reminder. And I feel the exact same. I'm like, if you are here in this time, trust that your soul chose to be here for this time people are waking up. We need your gifts. We need your services. We need your help. This is such, oh, I feel like so many people around the world are just going to be like listening to this and just feeling so activated and so expanded from this conversation. So one of the things that I want to touch on is worthiness. I think a lot of people, I think this is like a big thing that stops people from keeping like that up level going and going and going, or even just having that first level up, like really claiming, yes, I am worth this, I deserve this, whether it's like going out in the world in a new way, putting your gifts out there, whether it's claiming a new income level. You know, did you have to go through this, or what would you say is your best advice for someone that's experiencing this kind of like, oh, you know, I don't think I'm worthy of, you know, charging this or putting my gifts out there, or people that are experiencing imposter syndrome? Because for me, every time I step into a new level, it's usually about, oh, I'm worth this. Like it's about like really believing, oh yeah, I can do this. I am enough. I am worthy.
Yeah, absolutely. I think everybody goes through this. I think that if you're human, living in this full human sensory experience, and you're growing rapidly, I think there's always layers to, you know, shift through and to look at. And ultimately, you know, we do receive in this reality what we do believe we're deserving and worthy of at the core. So there's two things I'd be looking at here under the surface. Firstly, you know, whenever I would, for example, in the past, I go, okay, cool, I want to increase my rates to this. And then I'd feel the, and who's going to pay that anyway? And all the stories, right? I would catch that. And I would just ask myself, okay, what am I more unconsciously committed to? Because our unconscious commitments under the surface will always drive us in whatever direction we're more unconsciously committed to. So when I started asking that question, it was like, well, am I more unconsciously committed to increasing my rates and earning my value and being of service in this way? Or interesting, am I more unconsciously committed to what people are going to think about me? Because at the core of this, I'm worried that I'm going to be judged. Or am I more unconsciously committed to the scarcity of running an old program, saying like, oh, no one would pay that? What am I unconsciously committed to? Because the minute you see that and you bring that into your conscious awareness, you can be like, oh, well, that's not cool. I don't want to be committed to that. I'm going to choose to realign my commitments consciously and intentionally. So that would be the first piece. And then in terms of the imposter syndrome as well, and I think most people would be, you know, very aware of that term and the thoughts in your head that show up and tell you you're not enough and tell you all these mean, nasty stories that you would never say to anyone else to their face. It's really important if and when that happens to simply ask yourself, stop and be aware, and just ask yourself, is this mine? Really? Like, is this thought mine? Is this my thought? Is this thought my highest self? Is this thought from my soul? Is this thought God speaking through me? I don't think so. Well, then if it's not mine, what is it? And where does it come from? And more often than not, it can be lower light energies. It can be beings that are stuck in the astral realm. It can literally be entities that have just attached yourself to your field because you went down to a shopping mall and there was a lot of heavy energy, and now you just brought some of that back. Clear yourself, clean yourself, clear your body, clear your mind. Do what you need to do to purge out your unconscious. Maybe journal and just get all the bullshit out of your head. Speak gibberish, right? If you're aware of this as an ancient tool, just blah, 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 right? And go for it. Like, shake your body, shake your head, get your unconscious mind processing it out. It sounds so crazy, but I promise you, if you do this for 2 minutes without stopping, you'll be like, I have no thoughts in my head. Huh? Because that's your natural state of stillness. That's your natural state of just being in direct connection with God, or your experience with God, or the universe, or the creator, whatever label it is, right? And so it's catching that and not buying into the story that that's you. Because most people will even say, oh, and I tell myself that I'm not enough. And I tell, no, you're not telling. Is that really you? Is that you? Is that your thought?
Yes.
Not your thought. What the hell is that? Because that gets to go, because that does not belong in your field. And as a true sovereign being, you don't tolerate that. You don't allow that. In fact, this is your house, this is your field, and anything not aligned to light of the highest frequency needs to be out now. And I don't care if you sage it, or if you run around, or if you jump in the pool naked. Do whatever you need to do to move your body and move your system, move your mind, and clear that. But it does not get to hang out in your home. You wouldn't let some random stranger into your home and just let them drink alcohol in the corner and start screaming at you and abusing you. You'd be like, get out of my home. You're in my home, right? Take personal responsibility for that and don't judge yourself for it. It's very easy. It's easy to be at an event with a whole lot of people, and then I'm about to go on stage and I feel myself like, oh, like, do I know what I'm going to say? I'm doubting my keynote. Whoa, is this mine? No. Okay, I'm just in a room with 2,000 people. Let me clear myself before I get on stage. Right? It doesn't make you immune when you get to a certain point in your purpose or impact or service. It means that you just have more tools and you're faster at utilizing them and catching them. That's the only difference, right?
So true. So good. And I think it is like fine tuning what is around me that like energetically is not a vibrational match for where I'm aligning myself to. And this is why like I've always said, like, I think environment plays such a huge part in your energy. Like, I'm so sensitive to like the spaces that I'm in, where I'm spending my time, what is inspiring me, like how much of my life inspires me. Because if I want to be inspiring others, I have to inspire myself, right? And the people that are around me, like who I'm spending time with, even just like things like who I'm following on Instagram, like what my feed is, all of this has such an impact on our energy systems, right? And can either be fueling us and nourishing us and aligning us for where we want to be, or it can be like infiltrating our system with these low light energies that you mentioned.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that you bring out this piece of environment because it is so important. And we've probably all heard the quote, you become the sum of the 5 people that you hang around the most. And that is true financially, but that's true in every area of your life. If you're hanging around people that are super disconnected from their body and eating horrible food every day, then yeah, you're going to be influenced by the resident frequency that those people are holding, or it's going to be extremely difficult not to be influenced by them. So firstly, it's not just the 5 people. Firstly, it's not just financial, it's every area. And it's your whole environment. I love that you brought up the Instagram feed, right? Because especially now, people might not so much even be in in-person environments that much with people with this phase which we're in right now. Many big live events have been shut down and many borders are closed. And so many people may even just be with themselves and they're like, oh, my environment's good. I've just got myself and my partner. I'm good. Well, how's your feed? How's your news feed, and how much time are you spending scrolling it? Because all of that counts, and all of that is energy flooding into your system. So I would recommend that people go in and just take stock on that and clean up anything that doesn't feel super high vibe, that doesn't feel amazing. And, when I first started working on my environment, I think it was like 12 years ago or something, I really got this concept, and it was more in person and some family and things like that. And I went on the biggest environment purge ever. And I kind of released from people, distanced from people, cut from people. I was like, no, that's not the vibe. No, I don't enroll to that. No, you don't support my dreams. Cut. And then I turned around and I was like, now there's just me. This is kind of weird. And then a story kicked in. I've been told at one point, it's lonely at the top, Regan. And I heard that little voice and I was like, no, that's not the story I want to write. Is this mine? No, that's not mine. That's from some family member. That's from some story. That's not mine. That's not my soul speaking through me. Yeah. And that's when I decided not just to clean and clear my environment, to firstly be okay in the nothingness of my environment, find my own wholeness. And then thirdly, from the place of working on my environment, intentionally work to create an amazing environment, call in the high vibe people, be surrounded by friends and family and beloveds that I love dearly and that are in that vibration. And I'm not going to lie, that took me some time. There were many moments where I was like, and now it's Regan again. But I was also okay with it. I would prefer that than 20 friends that, were great, but weren't fully seeing me and my greatness and weren't fully supportive of my dreams. And I knew I couldn't go and tell them something because it would make them feel not enough. And I didn't want to go into that cycle, So it can take some work, but for people that are committed to it and you do this, online and also offline, it's so rewarding because when you step into that third layer, you just become a magnet for other amazing high vibe people to come towards you. Like Mel and I magnetized each other, right? Like when we were in this place, like we went through this place in Bali, and then we went in our own visions and our own journeys, and then we came back and it was like, ching, it was like, of course we get to hang out. Of course we get to be friends. Of course we get to be in beautiful sync, right? Because of the vibration which we both hold. And it was a no-brainer. It was like, yeah, of course I'd love to hang out with you and have dinner, right? Versus, if one of us had decided to not do the work or hang out or go a different path or like still be hustling, we probably would be like, cool, love you, but not really wanting to go deep and hang out. And that's also okay, right? So you're the creator of your reality. Look at where you're at on this cycle. For some of you listening, it may be like, okay, time to clean up, time to spring clean the community and the environment and the news feeds and the house and the family and the relationship and that thing over there that I'm tolerating. For some of you, you may be in the nothingness of being like, and then there was one, which is
yeah.
sit in that until you find wholeness in it, because it's from this wholeness that you recalibrate into the place where you become a beacon for high vibe people to magnetize towards you. And some of you are in the third phrase where you've done a lot of work in your environment and now you're just like, cool, let me magnetize the most epic humans towards me and live the best life ever with them, right? But it's a continuous cycle. It really is.
I love this so much. I'm so glad you talked on this because I think it's something that we all go through and we all struggle to like let go of people and call in new people. And I think it's a really good reminder that like you deserve to call in high vibrational friends who understand you, who truly see you, who get your path. You deserve that. And for me as well, it's definitely been intentionally calling people in. I definitely went through a period where I was like, it's just me traveling and yeah, great, it's fun. But like, I really want to meet, conscious beings. And also, when Rick and I started growing together in our relationship, we were like, we want to meet more couples that are doing this.
Yeah.
And in London, we kind of struggled a bit. And like, now it's like, we're in Costa Rica and it's like, do you know what? Like, we're just going to invite people out to Costa Rica that we vibe with. We're just going to intentionally like reach out and connect with people who we want to spend time with and who we want to get to know. And it's been so rewarding to see that pay off. It's a reminder that like, yes, if you want to bring these people into your life, if you want to have friendships and connections and relationships with people that are on your level, you get to intentionally call that in. I would love if you could share a little bit more about the role that plant medicine has played in your spiritual journey, in your, in just the path that you've been on. Because I know both of us, we've come together and we've shared stories. And I think I would say that you were probably one of the people that influenced me deciding to actually start working with the medicine, because I had seen just such a shift in you. And I was like, wow, like I want what she's having, So I would love if you could share a little bit more about what the medicine world has really done for you and how it's opened you up.
Absolutely. Yes. It's been such a gift. And for me, working with sacred medicine, I truly feel that if I hadn't have worked ever in my life with sacred medicine, it's not like I wouldn't have manifested a stack of things which have directly come from the medicine work, but it's more like they would have just taken a whole lot longer. So for me, the biggest piece is it's been a time accelerator within my own consciousness, giving me the capacity to tap into visions and upgrade my manifestations, and then also more rapidly clear anything which was holding me back and slowing down the process. Ultimately, if there's something you desire to manifest and it's not here right now in your reality, then there's one or many things holding you back. That's just simply blocking it and stopping it and slowing it down. So for me, the medicine really has been a huge accelerator in pretty much every area of my life, but fundamentally with my relationship. I was, you'll know this, Mel, as well. I was like 2 weeks out of a very intense 5-year relationship when I met Wampa. And so I had a huge rule that I wanted to be single and I wanted to go on a self-love journey and I didn't want another relationship. And I had all these like rules I put on myself. And so obviously I met Wampa and I was like, you're awesome, but not right now. And then we sat in ceremony together and I just asked at a soul level for this person to be revealed to me. And I saw everything. I saw every life we'd lived together. I saw every contract. I saw the missions. I saw the upgrade of the mission templates that were waiting to come online through our union. I saw everything. And it's like, well, what am I going to do? Argue with Source and tell Source that Source is wrong, like so such a lesson in surrender. And, it massively accelerated our relationship. I think really, again, we would have come together in this world and eventually been in this relationship container. But I think I would have taken 1.5 to 2 years to really come to terms with that. So it just accelerated everything rapidly. Another example is that right before we take groups to Peru, and right before one of the Peru trips, I was about to shut down a piece of my business that was, it was a $1.2 million piece of my business that I just kind of felt out of alignment with. And I felt bored teaching it. And I was like, you know what, I think I'm going to shut it down and just do something else in its place that I'm more in love with. And Wampa said to me, he's like, can you just not make any big business decisions right before we go to Peru? Like, just wait. So I was like, okay, wise one, I'll wait 10 days. So I go into the ceremony, and of course I start asking, and I get shown all these facets of my business which get to upgrade. And I saw how I was in a destroy and destruct pattern in order to attempt to create. And instead I upgraded my leadership codes and my entrepreneur codes as well into a place where I actually kept that income stream, but I shifted it in a way where it was in alignment, where I wasn't teaching it anymore. And I built leadership within my company, and I had my coaches take that over. And now just alone, that's a $3 million income stream, just that in my company. But I nearly blew that up. I nearly shut that down, right? With the level of consciousness that I was in, and trying to just follow alignment and do all the good things and run my business from the soul. But again, the medicine showed me, yeah, you can do that, but you're at this choice point, and you have this whole other option available, which I don't think I would have seen. And I would have maybe tried to undo like years down the track, or just let it go and be like, well, that was a good learning, I could have done that differently. And when we work with the Tree of Light, for example, it's just, again, the fastest tool that we have personally found to embody more light. And at the end of the day, if you're embodying more light, you're oscillating at a higher frequency, it's just easier to be in service. It's easier to truly live a life in alignment with your true purpose and show up in a powerful way. And so again, that's not the only way to code your system and recode it at a cellular level to embody more light, but it's just one of the fastest tools that we've found.
Love that. Yeah, I would completely agree. So, Regan, this has been so magical. I love to ask all of my questions the same 3 questions. I love to ask all of my guests these same 3 questions just to wrap up the show. The first one is, what is something that you are loving right now?
Something that I'm loving, weirdly, is not traveling. And this is coming from the girl who was in 20 countries a year, every single year for the last 7 or 8 years. And so it's really interesting when everything shifted and we found ourselves in Costa Rica by no level of chance whatsoever. And everything which has been unfolding from being on the grids here and now having this beautiful piece of land and really being the guardian of this land and allowing this beautiful community project to develop through us. None of that would have happened unless we were kind of forced to stop and to be here and to be in one place. I put money on it that if we kept traveling and then we went to Israel and then we went to Europe and then we went to the rest of our year, as it was planned last year, this wouldn't have happened now. So I'm really grateful for the pause.
I love this, and it feels as though this is always what you and Wampa were meant to do. You were meant to buy this plot of land. You were meant to, be building the homes and the schools that you're building now. If you had just been traveling nonstop, it's like it just feels as though you guys are meant to be doing exactly that thing that you're doing, and it's so expansive and so inspiring for others to see as well.
Exactly. Yeah. And we always had this vision, but it was always like in the future. We've been looking for land for a few years in Costa Rica, and oh yeah, this is good, but it's not quite right. And in the future. And then again, this piece of land wouldn't have materialized as it did and literally showed up instantly when we got super clear on what we wanted, unless we were here and we were able to actually drive and go and look at it and figure it out in that moment. Because the person that was selling the land needed to exit out of it super quickly, so we had to act really fast, and we couldn't have done that if we weren't here. So
wow. Gorgeous. And next, what is something that turns you on?
There's many things. There's many. think I think the biggest thing that turns me on is honestly, and it sounds maybe kind of strange, but I think the people that have had these experiences will really get it, is when you go into the field and what we talked about today, when we talked about in the beginning with the geometries and seeing how our reality is actually made up. When I go into that, I'm just blown away with bliss and with pleasure and with possibility. And every time I just look at it and I'm like, God's architecture is so divine. And when I go into the purity of it, it's like every single cell of my being lights up in ecstasy in a way that it's hard to put words on. And so I know that might be a strange answer maybe for people to hear, but I think the people who have done some work around this and gone into ceremony and had blissful, mind-blowing, orgasmic experiences like this, is like there really are no words for it. So yeah.
Yes, I love this so much. And I've just realized, I love what you said about like, wow, God's architecture is like, oh my God, just whoa. And it feels as though, you're now on this land, you're building these properties and this community, and you're using sacred geometry, right? So it's like you've kind of come full circle in from your architect days.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's interesting, right? It's like this architecture piece has now looped back around, and I'm super grateful, even chatting to the architects, knowing that I can read the plans and I can speak their language, and I have a very deep sense of spaces, even from being in university. I did complete that degree. So even though I never practiced as an architect, it's totally been a gift. And then this other piece of fusing that with what I call the energetic architecture. And, I developed out the energetic architecture method, and I have my activations and my toolkit around that, around how to actually activate and restore the geometries in the field to their natural state. And the fun thing for me actually with this whole project has been working at taking the true sacred geometry, and not the sacred geometry that we know, because a lot of that old sacred geometry, like the flower of life and the tree of life and things like that, a lot of that, it's not bad and wrong, but it's outdated. It's not actually vibrationally, energetically in sync with the planet anymore. Same with the Fibonacci spiral. And you say, well, Regan, that's in nature. Yes, some of the nature adapted to those old grids, but there's actually a completely separate system. There's a whole separate time wave system that's available. So there's this whole other set of geometries which I've been working with deeply the past few years. And now I get to work with the architects to put it into physical form. And it's blowing their minds, because they're going, wow, I haven't seen this before. And I'm like, no, because this is the new system that we're literally building and creating, and not just having as an energetic thing, but actually putting it into a structure and having everything through this new crystalline architecture. So it's just been so fun, and such a lesson that everything happens for a reason. Even when I was 19 years old and I was crying and I was like, I don't know what my life path is, and why did I study architecture? What a waste of time and money. Like, it all starts to make sense when it comes a full 360 back around.
Oh my God, I love this so much. So true. And the project that you're working on is just unlike anything else I think that's ever been built. So you really were born to be doing exactly what you're doing right now, Regan.
It feels close.
Yeah. And I feel as though I know what your answer is going to be to this last question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. When was the last time you experienced magic?
Oh, like on this call. I just received, right before I jumped on this call, I was listening to a voicemail from one of my closest sisters, and she was like telling me this big long story about this quote. And basically the end of the quote was that, you will only, I don't remember the exact words, but it was like, you will only find magic if you look for magic, and those who don't look for magic will never find it. And we were just saying how that our entire reality is pure magic by choice and by design, because we choose that. We're constantly looking for that. And most people probably heard that what you focus on expands. Well, you focus on magic, and that magic expands pretty rapidly in front of you. Focus on magical manifestations. I mean, that expands in front of you. Focus on seeing magic in the 3D, that expands. Focus on knowing that magic is going to unfold through this conversation we just had together. And of course, you're going to have freaking magical moments left, right, and center. So I feel like my whole life is just that vibration, and I'm in awe of it daily, and I'm in gratitude with it constantly.
Oh, that is such a perfect way to wrap up this conversation. Thank you so much, Regan. This has just been pure magic, getting to speak with you and dive deeper into all of these topics. Where can everyone come and hang out and get more of Regan in their life and come and work with you?
Yeah, of course. Well, thank you so much for having me. It's been such a beautiful, flowy conversation. Yeah, you can go to reganhillyer.com, and then I'm on all the social platforms for as long as they choose to exist in this old system. Facebook, Instagram, let's see how long that stays. But I'm also on Telegram. But of course, you can go straight to the website, reach out to me directly, say hi in the DMs, and let me know that you came from this conversation as well. I'd love to chat with you.
Beautiful. Well, Regan, thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure.
You're so welcome. Love you so much.
Love you too.